What if I told you that some of the biggest American companies in the world are quietly packing their bags and moving to a tiny island on the other side of the planet? What if the land of opportunity is no longer America? Every single year, dozens of powerful United States corporations are closing their American headquarters and setting up shop in Singapore. And the reasons why might completely shock you. We are talking about lower taxes, fewer regulations, a world-class talent pool, and a government that actually wants businesses to succeed. Singapore is a country smaller than the city of Los Angeles, yet it has become one of the most powerful business hubs on the entire planet. Companies like Google, Facebook, and hundreds of others have already made the move. So why are American businesses running away from home? And what does this mean for the future of America itself? Stay with us because we are about to break it all down, point by point.
Point 1. Jaw-dropping tax advantages. Let us start with the most obvious reason: money. In the United States, the corporate tax rate sits at around 21%, and when you stack on state taxes, that number can climb even higher depending on where you are based. Now compare that to Singapore, where the corporate tax rate is only 17%. But here is the real kicker. Singapore offers something called the Startup Tax Exemption Scheme, which can bring that rate down to as low as 4.25% for new companies. For a company making hundreds of millions of dollars every year, the tax savings alone can be absolutely enormous. That is hundreds of millions of dollars that companies can reinvest into their products, their people, and their growth instead of handing it over to the government. When you think about it that way, the decision to move becomes very easy for many business leaders. Point 2. Strategic location at Asia's gateway. Singapore is not just a dot on the map. It sits right in the heart of Southeast Asia, one of the fastest growing economic regions in the entire world. Within a 7-hour flight from Singapore, you can reach over half of the world's population. Countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, India, and China are all within easy reach. For any American company that wants to tap into Asian markets, Singapore is the perfect launchpad. It gives businesses direct access to billions of potential customers. And unlike trying to operate directly inside China, Singapore is politically neutral and has strong trade relationships with almost every major economy in the world. More than 90 free trade agreements are connected through Singapore. That is a powerful network that American companies desperately want to plug into as they expand their global footprint. Point 3. Business-friendly government policies. Here is something that might surprise you. In Singapore, you can register a brand new company in as little as 1 to 3 days. Compare that to the weeks or even months it can take in the United States to get through all the bureaucratic red tape. The Singaporean government actively welcomes foreign businesses. They have entire agencies dedicated to helping companies set up and thrive. The Economic Development Board of Singapore literally exists to attract global corporations and make their experience as smooth as possible. There are grants available, startup incentives, and even special zones designed for specific industries like fintech, biotech, and artificial intelligence. The government does not see businesses as a problem to be managed. They see businesses as partners in national growth. That kind of attitude is incredibly rare, and American companies are responding to it in a very big way. Point 4. World-class infrastructure. Singapore consistently ranks as one of the best connected countries on the entire planet.
Its port is one of the busiest in the world, handling over 37 million containers every single year. Changi Airport has been rated the best airport in the world multiple times, with connections to over 100 countries. The internet infrastructure is blazing fast, with average speeds that outpace most American cities by a wide margin. The roads are clean, the public transport system is efficient, and the city itself runs like a perfectly tuned machine. For companies that depend on logistics, shipping, or just fast and reliable communication, Singapore delivers in a way that many other countries simply cannot match. When you are running a global business, infrastructure is not just a nice to have, it is absolutely essential to your daily operations.
Point 5. Access to top-tier talent. One of the biggest headaches for American companies is finding and keeping great talent. Singapore solves this problem in a very unique way. The country has an extremely well-educated local workforce with a strong focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics from a very young age. But it does not stop there. Singapore also has one of the most open immigration policies for skilled workers in all of Asia. Companies can bring in top professionals from India, China, Europe, and beyond without the nightmare of complex visa battles. The government has created several special work passes, like the Employment Pass, designed specifically to attract global talent. The result is a workforce that is diverse, skilled, and highly motivated. For tech companies, finance firms, and research-driven businesses, having access to this kind of talent pool is an absolute game changer. Point 6. Political stability and low corruption. When businesses look for a place to invest and grow, one of the first things they check is stability. Singapore scores incredibly high in this area. It is consistently ranked as one of the least corrupt countries in the world by Transparency International. The legal system is fair, transparent, and based on English common law, which makes it very familiar and trustworthy for American companies. The political environment is calm and predictable. There are no sudden policy reversals, no chaotic elections that throw everything into uncertainty, and no risk of government officials demanding bribes just to get things done. In many parts of the world, corruption is a massive hidden cost of doing business. In Singapore, it is simply not a factor. For a company making long-term strategic decisions about where to plant roots, that kind of rock-solid stability is absolutely priceless. Point 7. Intellectual property protection. If you are an American tech company, your intellectual property is your most valuable asset. Your patents, your software, your proprietary processes, these are the things that make you worth billions of dollars. Singapore takes the protection of intellectual property extremely seriously. It has some of the strongest intellectual property laws in all of Asia, and it enforces them rigorously. This is a massive deal for companies that are terrified of their innovations being copied or stolen, especially when operating in markets close to China. Singapore gives businesses the confidence that their secrets are safe. There is even a specialized intellectual property office dedicated to managing and enforcing these protections. American companies can operate knowing that the innovations they have spent years and billions of dollars developing will be protected under a legal framework that is robust, modern, and actually enforced. Point 8. Thriving Fintech and Innovation Ecosystem. Singapore has positioned itself as one of the world's top fintech and innovation hubs. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is the country's central bank and financial regulator, has been incredibly proactive in encouraging financial innovation.
They created a regulatory sandbox where new fintech companies can test their products in a real-world environment without immediately facing all the heavy regulations that would normally apply. This has attracted hundreds of financial technology startups and established companies from around the world. Singapore is home to more than 1,000 fintech firms and counting. Blockchain, digital payments, wealth management technology, and artificial intelligence-driven finance are all booming here. For American companies in the financial space, having a base in Singapore means being right at the center of the action in one of the most dynamic and fast-growing financial markets on the planet.
Point 9. English as the primary business language. One concern that many American companies have when expanding into Asia is the language barrier. In Singapore, that concern simply does not exist. English is one of the 4 official languages, and it is the primary language used in business, government, education, and law. Every contract, every government document, every court proceeding, all of it is done in English. American executives and employees can walk into Singapore and operate immediately without needing to learn a new language or hire armies of translators. This might sound like a small thing, but for large corporations making multi-billion-dollar decisions, being able to communicate clearly and directly with government officials, local partners, banks, and employees in plain English is enormously valuable. It dramatically reduces the risk of costly misunderstandings and makes the entire process of setting up and running a business dramatically smoother.
Point 10. Growing U.S.-China tensions pushing companies east. The final reason is one that has become increasingly urgent in recent years. The relationship between the United States and China has become deeply complicated and, frankly, quite tense. Tariffs, trade wars, technology bans, and geopolitical rivalry have made it very risky for American companies to be too closely tied to either country when operating in Asia. Singapore offers the perfect solution. It is neutral. It has strong relationships with both the United States and China. It is not caught up in the rivalry and does not force companies to pick a side. American businesses can use Singapore as a safe and stable base from which to serve Chinese customers, work with Chinese suppliers, and operate across all of Asia without the political risk of being directly in the middle of the US-China conflict. In an increasingly divided world, that kind of neutrality has become one of Singapore's most powerful selling points.
So there you have it. 10 powerful reasons why American companies are quietly making their escape to Singapore. From jaw-dropping tax savings and world-class infrastructure to political stability, top talent, and perfect neutrality in a world divided by US-China tensions, Singapore is not just a destination, it is a strategic move. And the companies making this move are not doing it out of desperation. They are doing it because they see the future, and the future has a Singapore address. Now, this is not necessarily all good news for America. When big companies move their headquarters abroad, they take jobs, tax revenue, and economic activity with them. It raises serious questions about what the United States needs to do differently to keep businesses at home. But for now, Singapore is winning the global competition for corporate headquarters, and it is doing so brilliantly. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you hit like and subscribe, because we are just getting started. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think America will ever fight back and reclaim its competitive edge?